In entrepreneurship, you have to know yourself. That takes courage.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator. I'm Moshe Popack, and today we chat with GiGi Diaz. GiGi is a certified mindset and content coach, a media personality, a 20-year entrepreneur, and the founder of Seizing Happy, which is a coaching organization dedicated to nurturing the business and the entrepreneur behind the business equally. And now, here's my conversation with GiGi. Enjoy. Hi, GiGi, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I did all the stalking on your Instagram and listening to all your shows, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited.
There you go. Well, pleasure. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. So I really love, I guess, the name of your coaching business, Seizing Happy.
Seizing Happy.
Yeah. So, I mean, because that's a core of positivity. So I definitely relate to that. Tell me about where you came, what that means, and where you came up with that.
Thank you so much for that question. I don't think we get, I don't have enough opportunities to talk about the name. I'm so excited for this question. I think that when it comes to our happiness, we are told all the time that you need to be happy ongoingly. And I don't believe that. I do believe, however, that we need to be in a state of seizing our happiness. And what that means is in the times when life gets difficult, when there are obstacles, when it just gets tough, it's challenging and you're not sure which way to go, all those not so fun experiences of our human existence, I think that we should sit in those and feel through it, but we owe it to ourselves to go back to seizing happy, looking for it, keep trying to grab it, wherever it is, even if it feels like it's far away. Just keep trying to find it and keep trying to bring it to you. Keep trying to seize that. And so that's the goal of the company. It's where it came from. It's, even if you're struggling, especially as an entrepreneur, there are so many ups and downs in business. Yeah. And some of them are very unpredictable. Some of them you're like, okay, I see there's something happening here. Let me either do like a cash injection or let me like alter things a little bit. But sometimes you just wake up and you're like, whoa, what's going on with the business right now? So, you sit with that, but then you owe it to yourself to continue seizing your happiness.
And I really love that because in the day-to-day of the mundane, because what I find is, let's just take the business box. In the typical business box, it's just day-to-day stuff, repeat, consistent. And it's hard to find that happiness. Obviously, holistically, it's also hard to find. Yeah. What are practical tools that when let's say you're coaching clients, they can actually use? Because as you said before, it could be far away, but what practical tools can they use in order to get into a better mood or seize that happiness?
Oh my gosh. So I love this. My favorite thing to challenge my clients to do is to play. We are given the definition of business as being something so serious. Like entrepreneurship is so important and it's so important. And you just have to dress up like this and you have to do all these things and all the systems and the funnels and all that other crap. And it's just like, does it really have to be like that? Because it doesn't. The best thing about entrepreneurship is that you get to do whatever you want full time. Like that is the definition of an entrepreneur. You do what you want. And so my biggest challenge is to keep it fresh is how can you make it fun? I read somewhere once that there's this, I wish I remembered where I found this, definitely not mine, but make it easy, make it beautiful, and make it fun. The way that our brain works is when things are made simpler, you want to keep trying them. When things are made beautiful, you are attracted to them. You're drawn to that. And then when you can have fun doing something, you're going to want to continue to repeat it. And so whether that means make building your funnel fun, make selling fun if that's the part of business that's uncomfortable to you. And by making it fun, it could be something as simple as, can you do it with a friend? Can you do it with music on? Can you stop to take literal dance breaks in the middle of your day? Like, can you just break away from that, I must be sitting at my desk to get this done, and just set an alarm, and every hour and a half, whatever your focus system is, get up and have a dance party by yourself. Bring your kids into it. If you have kids in the house, have a dance party with the kids. And then, you know what? Now mom has to go back to work. But I think if you can make it easy, so don't overcomplicate the process, it's not necessary. We also think that if it's very complicated and very hard, it's more valuable. And that's not the case at all. If you make it beautiful, so something as simple as like declutter your workspace. Maybe don't work in your workspace today. Go work by the water. Go work outside. Find a different setting to inspire your creativity. Our creativity is also very much triggered by art, by music. It's just the way that the human brain works. And so make time to go to the museum. Make time to go look at the water. Make time to go be in nature a little bit. Make it beautiful so that your inspiration and so like just the energy of your being can flow easier. And make it fun. It doesn't have to be so serious. Like making money can be fun.
No, for sure. I myself, even though you have to know yourself and what works for you. Like on my Fridays, live here in Miami, and I'll literally go pace on the beach, but I'm sitting there doing all my cleanup calls, super important calls, but I hear the ocean, or I'll take a break to listen to some music because then I get my brain juices going.
Yes.
And I'm able to make better decisions. I also know, you also have the 3 C's.
Yeah.
Clarity, confidence, and courage. Let's go through each one and why that's so important in entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So the 3 C's are one of my favorite things to talk about because oftentimes we get into entrepreneurship and we tend to see the big picture, right? Like I know I want to have a multi-million-dollar company that teaches in all of these different spaces and helps all these different people do all these different things. And so when you have that really big picture, it can become challenging to find the small tasks and small steps that are going to get you there. And so we end up getting distracted by the shiny objects. We end up getting distracted by, let's launch this program now and let's do this other sale and let's build this other thing. And then you end up spreading yourself so thin, especially new entrepreneurs. So for me, a new entrepreneur is anyone who's 5 years or less. You're really stretching yourself to do it all because you're going for that really massive, big picture from the start. And you can't do that. You need to have the clarity of where do you want the business to be in 1 year. Keep the big picture in mind. It's important. We're going there, right? But you don't get to Disney right away, right?
Yeah.
You gotta pack your bags. You gotta get in the car. You gotta get out of like 95, and then you're gonna drive all the way up there. You gotta make a couple stops in the way. You have to be able to have clarity on how do you want entrepreneurship to feel is the very first one, because otherwise you end up going into how you are told entrepreneurship should feel, which is usually stressful, overwhelmed, burnt out, and it doesn't have to feel that way. And clarity also, like, what is the big picture, but what is the big picture for this year? What is the picture for this quarter? So clarity is super important because it's what's going to get you to do less and accomplish more versus just keeping yourself really busy doing all the things that may or may not move the needle or get you any faster to where you want to be, even if you feel really, really busy. The second clarity is courage, right? And so with courage, you mentioned something about like in entrepreneurship, you have to know yourself. That takes courage, right? And so I feel like the courage is very much for the looking within. You need to know who you are as a person so that then you can make your business work for you. If you don't understand your personal needs, if you're not clear on how you want your personal life to exist, if you don't have the courage to look within to see what are your real strengths and what are your real weaknesses, not the ones your mom told you had, not the ones that in comparison to society you have, like what is your real toolbox? If you have the courage to look within and really get strong on who you are, then now your business becomes a tool that you can use to construct the life that you want. And then that's going to give you the confidence because you're going into the entrepreneurship with your core essence, with your core values, with decisions that come from within, rather than trying to shape your business into what other coaches are telling you to do.
I think about like really like limiting your ego because there is no good or bad, right? It's just, I'm good at this. These are my tools, like you're saying, right?
Yeah.
And then you surround yourself around people that are good in the things that you're not good at.
100%.
Right? And then together with that clarity, and then the confidence.
That's what I believe that's when you have the confidence, when you have the courage to make decisions that come from within. And that's one of the reasons that I love coaching one-on-one. I have group programs for those that can't afford one-on-one coaching, and they are very helpful. But the most powerful growth that you'll ever make as an entrepreneurship is with one-on-one coaching, because one of the things we believe in with Seizing Happy is we nurture the business, but also the woman behind the business. The entrepreneur has to be understood and taken care of and nurtured and discovered, just like you want to discover the path to your business, because your business is a reflection of you. So when you look within and you have the courage to study who you are as a person, how you're truly showing up, your strengths and your weaknesses, and where you need to expand and where maybe you need a couple of more tools, you need to overcome certain things like procrastination or self-doubt, right? When you have that courage to look within, that's what's going to give you the confidence to approach the entrepreneurship path with certainty that whatever the decision is that you've made, regardless of the outcome, it's the right decision because there's going to be a learning there. And like you said, there's no right or wrong in entrepreneurship. There is you knowing very well what your tools are so that you can make powerful decisions that will always result in learning.
And I love what you said about having fun. I always say that if you're having fun when in every business things get tough.
Oh, yeah.
If you're having fun, it'll give you the energy to not give up and continue to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And looking, I think mindset is also just so important. It is going to get tough, but instead of focusing on the lack, instead of focusing on, I have less sales this month or this year, or this just got really hard, or like somebody quit or whatever it is, if instead of focusing on that thing that is going wrong, you give yourself the opportunity to say, where is the learning in this? How can this make me a better entrepreneur? You ask yourself questions like, how can I be creative about this situation? You ask yourself questions like, what resources do I have that can help me make this smoother? You ask yourself questions like, who do I know that has already gone through this that I might make a call and say, hey, my business is in this situation right now, and I know you went through something similar. Is there either guidance you can give me, a person you can recommend, or how can you support me? And that's something that's really important too for entrepreneurships is, and you mentioned it, surrounding yourself with the right people, but also knowing that you can and deserve to ask for help. And that's okay. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you dumb. It makes you brilliant to ask for help.
No, asking for help and being honest and vulnerable. I was telling somebody earlier that's super important for a sustainable business. 100%. You have to always look at the plus and the minus. In your coaching business, is it mostly women that you coach?
Yes.
Which I love, by the way. My wife and I, we work together, and I'm a big fan of strong women. When I see like Beyonce or Taylor Swift, it's like, you have strong women, because I know how much harder it is to be a sustainable, successful woman entrepreneur in society.
Yeah.
I have tremendous respect for it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We need more men that get it.
It's no, I mean.
And I have dude clients, don't get me wrong, and working with dudes is fun too. But I think that there's just a certain magic that can happen when two women can sit down and bring their powers with each other and collaborate in that space. I think that when it comes to coaching especially, it is a collaborative space. There is a misconception that coaching, it's like a hierarchical thing. It's not. We're partners in discovering you as a person, and we're partners in discovering your business, what your goals are and what the best paths are to get your business to work for you, to get you where you want to be in life, right? Yeah. And so I love being able to do that with women and being able to help them unleash, and this is actually the name of one of my programs, is Unleash Your Inner CEO. And it's being able to allow for that sacred space where the woman can like be vulnerable and be scared, and then also be super courageous and say, but I'm going to do it anyway. Right. Yeah.
I always told, I told my wife, I was like, if you can bring, like you're saying, the women together on a same goal, I was like, nothing can stop women, with this passion.
Yeah.
All the guys will be like shy away, and they can.
You ladies, go ahead.
That's right. And they can literally change the world.
I agree.
If you can get them on the same page. And I also like that in your coaching, you have like a holistic approach, that you also take mental health. Why is mental health and entrepreneurship so important?
Are you kidding me? Mental health is so important because entrepreneurship is hard. And the reason why entrepreneurship is hard, because corporate life is hard too. But the reason why it is especially hard to be an entrepreneur is because you're responsible for the idea and the execution and the results and the clients and the product. And so that's a big weight to carry, right? And so if you're not mentally clear, if your body is not healthy, if your thoughts are not healthy, if your spirituality, whatever that means to you, is not healthy and strong, if your relationships, your personal relationships, like the friends you go out with to talk about your business make a huge difference in the growth of your business. And if those areas of your life are not healthy and strong, it's very easy for those downward spirals of entrepreneurship to really take a toll on you. And then you stop showing up as the best wife that you can be and the best mom that you can be and the best friend that you can be or daughter or caretaker. There's a lot of women entrepreneurs and men entrepreneurs out there that may not be parents, but they're caretakers for their elderly parents. These are big, heavy tolls that we carry in our life that are the priority.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship sometimes gets made the priority because it's what pays the bills for all those things that we want to do. And so being able to find the best way to carry or to wear both of those hats without it ever repercussing on your health and your well-being is key, because ultimately most entrepreneurs go into entrepreneurship for the freedom of being able to be with their family and their friends and for their own health and well-being. So if we don't put that first, it'll never be first, and the entrepreneurship will burn you out with
I always think about like the same energy you put into work, you also have to put that into your private life.
100%, if
and not
more.
make believe, like actually do it, and it takes intention. I was out to dinner. You talk about a group of CEOs, and the number one need of humans is we want social connection. We want to, but actually, from the mental health perspective, the common denominator of the conversation was how lonely it is. It's lonely on the top.
I've heard that so much.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
So you have to know that that's going to be your price.
You know, I disagree with that statement. I disagree with it's lonely at the top. I feel like when it feels lonely at the top, it's because you need a different circle of CEOs around you. For some entrepreneurs, it feels lonely at the top because their circle of friends, their support circle is people from their previous life, from their corporate life, who don't understand entrepreneurship, so they could never offer the support that is needed. But then for other people who are surrounded by entrepreneurs, if the entrepreneurs that you're surrounded by, if the CEOs you're having dinner with, don't share your core values, your family essence, your spiritual beliefs, your like human sauce. Maybe they share all of your like business sauce, but they don't share your human sauce. Right. I think that feels lonely too, because you would never feel comfortable having certain really important conversations with that circle of entrepreneurs at dinner, which is the place where we break bread and connect on a personal level, because you have no similarities on the personal level.
So then how do we take action steps? Let's say you find that your circle of friends you're not able to relate to. It could be family, it could be friends. How do we find, what action steps do we take to find the right group of friends?
Oh my gosh, I love this, because this is also part of what I coach in. Right. And my favorite thing is like, have you ever done a juice detox?
I have.
Okay.
Years ago, yeah.
You got to detox the people around you too. So the first thing you do when you do a juice detox is you stop eating certain things to just juice. And so you do the same thing with your circle and your people. Stop going to any place. Stop being with anyone. Stop talking. Just stop for a minute and give yourself the opportunity to evaluate what it feels like when you talk with certain people, what it feels like when you go to the places you frequent, what it feels like when you know, whatever it is that you're doing in your social sphere, stop for a second, just get it all out of the system, give yourself some alone time, and redefine how you want those interactions to feel. What kind of conversations do you want to be having? Are they all about business? Or do you want to be having some more personal, in-depth conversations about your spiritual growth or your health, or, you know, what it means to be a mom of a 7-month-old at 38, you know, as an entrepreneur? What conversations do you want to have? Maybe you're having a lot of those conversations, but the ones you really want to have are about entrepreneurship. You want to talk about building funnels and sales leads. Find what it is you're lacking, and then do a very simple Google search for communities that have that, communities that are doing that. So if you're so deep in a circle of entrepreneurship, but you need that personal touch, find groups of women or men or mixed or whatever, however you prefer to interact, that are having those conversations, and go spend your time there. But first, you got to do the detox. First, you have to get everything out and allow for the silence and allow yourself the space and honor your needs enough to say, you know what I really need is more of this or that. Maybe you need more personal, maybe you need more business. And then once you know that, leave out what is not serving you and find those communities. We have access to so much just with the internet. And after the world went fully virtual, we have even more access now to groups of people and communities all over the world that are having the conversations that we want to have. So whether you want to do that in person or virtually, it's out there.
I love that because, like you're saying, the power of the internet. I didn't think of it that way, but that's a very powerful tool.
Think about how much time you spend online anyway, right? If you can take out of, I think the average that people spend online, something like 3 hours a day or something, like scrolling, mindlessly scrolling. If you could take 1 hour out of that, scroll all you want, just take 1 hour out of that to, if you want to do it online, stay online, but connect with people who are having the conversations you want to have. People like you who are in the same discovery path as you, whether that is self-discovery, business discovery, spiritual discovery, doesn't matter. Whatever it is you're discovering right now, find people who are on that journey, because those are the really deep conversations that are going to fulfill you as a person, which is, like you said, we're built to be social. So you just have to find the level of depth, conversation, and interaction that makes your social being feel completely satisfied.
Just a quick reminder, this is the Common Denominator podcast. If you're enjoying this episode, we'd be grateful if you could leave us a 5-star rating and review, and subscribe to our YouTube page if you haven't already done so. Thanks so much. Now, back to the show. And I love that you had the ability 20 years ago to start your dance academy. What was going on? That's like, for a woman to go ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneur at a young age. What was that like? You're like, I don't want to work for anybody else. I'm going to go ahead and do this.
No, it was nothing like that. I was born in Cuba, and when I came to the United States, my mom, she got a degree in journalism and Spanish. The University of Miami has something called the Cubic Center where they do Spanish language degrees, and she went and she got a journalism degree. And so I was 15 when she opened her newspaper. And she was like, well, you're the only one that knows how to use a computer, so you're going to do the graphic design. I was like, I don't want to do graphic design. I'm over it, whatever, like rebellious teenager doesn't want to do anything. And that's how I ended up discovering journalism. She would pay me to do the graphic design, right? A lot less than she would have had to pay an actual graphic designer. The designs came out beautiful, fell in love with journalism, but I was already doing like dancing stuff. I've been dancing since I was 4. So I would perform with Univision's Sábado Gigante, which is like the second longest running Spanish language television show ever. So I had money put away. I had done commercials for First Union Bank, which isn't around anymore. I'd done like the Santa's Enchanted Forest commercial that you hear every year. That's me. I had a little money put away. And when I got out of high school, my mom was like, so what are you going to study? And I was like, well, I'm going to study journalism because that's what I've been doing since I was 15 and I love it. But I have to do something for money. Like, I had scholarships, but you still have to pay for books and food and gas and cars. And at that point, in hindsight, it's so silly. But at that point, I was like, the only thing I know how to do is dance because that's what I've been doing the longest. And I say in hindsight, it's funny because I could have made a lot more money and had a lot less stress if I had stayed doing like graphic design for magazines and newspapers, right? Yeah. But I ended up taking the money that I had put away and I found a warehouse and I was like, I could teach dance here. It was I don't even know. I think for sure my mom's entrepreneurial spirit has rubbed off on me. But I have no idea how I came up with that idea. Because if I had thought about it now, I would not open a dance studio. Wow. Like, if it was me now, I'd be like, don't do that. This is silly.
But it's still around 20 years later, right?
It is still around 20 years later. We celebrated our 20th anniversary September. And it's why I look back and I'm like, holy crap. My kids have kids. I was a grandma before I was a mom. Like a metaphorical grandma before I was a mom. I have some of my kids' kids in my dance studio right now.
It's amazing.
It's wild.
Yeah. And you also, you were in the media space. How was that journey?
That was interesting too. Another thing that found me by accident or like by, just happened. So I started in TV when I was in Cuba. In Cuba, there's 2 channels. I was on both of them. Wow. There's a children's TV show called Arcoiris Musical, and I used to perform there because I started dancing flamenco when I was 4. And the dance company that I was in was affiliated with the station. So like they'd go and like pick out talent from there and kind of like how they do here, pick out talent from a place that's people are trained well. And I was on that TV show. And then when I came to the United States, Sábado Gigante had like a dance competition for kids and you could win $1,000. And I don't remember this, but my mom says I was sitting next to my grandfather when Don Francisco was like talking about like the little kids competing, dancing or whatnot. And she says like, I was sitting back leaning against my grandfather. And as the competition progressed, that I was like moving forward. I was like at the edge of my seat by the end of it. And my mom, they were like, oh, if you have a talented kid at home, call this number. And my mom was like, do you want to go? And I was like, yes, I want to go. I'm so competitive. It's not cute. And I was like, yes, I want to go. So I went, I won the $1,000. And then they asked me to stay. And my mom was like, we can't afford the instructions here. They're like, we'll give her a scholarship. And they continued to train me in media. So it was beyond dance. They taught me how to speak in front of a camera. We would do like mock commercials. I did a lot of my, the real commercials that I did an audition for. So I was trained so deeply in front of a camera that there are times I think I was in media because I was groomed to be in, like from 4 years old to be in front of a camera. And believe it or not, I don't like the spotlight. I can turn on this when I'm on because I almost feel like I was groomed to do it. But the moment these lights turn off and this mic is off, I'm just like, can I just take all this crap off and be in my pajamas? And I don't want anyone to, like, when I was on TV and radio, I would never tell anyone that's what I did. People, like, I'd go out somewhere, like meet a guy or whatever. It's like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I own a dance studio. I never wanted to say I'm on television or I'm on the radio because I just felt like, oh, like that changes how people look at you. It changes how they approach you. They already see like their definition of you on top of who you really are just based on what you do. And I never liked that. And I was like, I don't fit in here.
No, but it's interesting. I find that a lot of people, actors and people in media, a lot of times they are different. You know, they could be a bit introverted than what they really, right?
Yeah, I think there is a few of us in the media space that we're in the space because it is the talent and tool that God gave us. And so you have to execute in that space. You have to do it because this is the gift. Like I know I'm supposed to be in front of a microphone or in front of a camera and communicating a message. I know that. But like, if I could do something else, which I can't because I've tried, if I could, I probably would not do this. Like I would not be in front of a camera, but I can't do anything else. I don't like it. It makes me miserable. I love doing this. This is my sauce. Like I love being on a show and on a podcast and putting shows together and you know, producing and putting these ideas out there for people to love or hate. You know, sometimes you put something really great together and everyone's like, that was crap. It's like, great, tell me why. So the next one could be better. I love it. It like fills my soul. But then I just want to knock things down. Like I just want to go to sleep.
And you do have your own podcast, right? Yeah. Tell us about the podcast.
The Chats with GiGi podcast has gone through so many evolutions. It started as like interviewing celebrities. So we had like Chrissy Metz on there, Jason Derulo, Devon Franklin.
Like Jason Derulo.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah.
Cool.
And then it went into, I was like, I want this to have more power. Like these celebrities already have all the microphones. You know, they already have all the spotlights that they need to get their messages across and such. And so I was like, well, I want to interview people that are like making impacts. And I ended up interviewing like celebrity attorneys and authors like Dan Harris and one of my favorite interviews ever. And then I was like, these people are making impacts, but like they still have platforms, you know? And so I was like, who do I really want to bring on here? And it was like, I want to bring the amazing entrepreneurs that are like killing it in their city. Because they're not going to have access to a microphone like this, you know? Or if they do, they have, you know, somebody's going to ask them to pay thousands of dollars for it. So I started just interviewing women entrepreneurs who are making big moves, but don't have celebrity status. And it was the best. And so I've been doing that for a while. And then when I got full-time into coaching, I would throw in solo episodes based on whatever I found with my clients. So if I found that there was like an underlying theme or an underlying like a consistent issue that I kept seeing over and over again, I was like, let me do a solo podcast on this and kind of like help unblock a lot of people who might be having the same problem. And I always kept getting message every time. The most messages I would get from any podcast was when I would do the solo podcasts. And then I sent out.
Interesting.
Yeah. I sent out, market research. I went to my email list and I was like, what do you guys want me to do in 2024? Do you want me to keep bringing guests or do you want me to do solo podcasts? And it was like solo podcasts. And so now the podcast is going to change again. And it's going to be just helping the listeners to overcome and grow through business and personal, but just chit-chatting on my own, talking to myself like I do all day.
No, I love it. But do you believe that people are wired to be an entrepreneur or everybody can be an entrepreneur, or is it just certain type of people?
Ooh, what a difficult question. I go back and forth on that answer. There are times that when I talk to a lot of people, I'm like, all of you have these great ideas. And so that part of me is like, everyone can be an entrepreneur. But when I think about the definition of entrepreneurship in action, what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
I like that you said that in action.
In action. Yes. Yeah. Not in theory.
Right.
In action.
The ideas are every day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't think that everyone can or wants to or should be an entrepreneur. I think that there are people who excel and thrive in corporate, and that's where they belong. And it makes them happy as hell to be in corporate, and that's okay. I think that most people who are miserable in corporate are the people who should be entrepreneurs, and they just don't know it yet. But to be an entrepreneur requires such a level of self-discipline and such a desire to really bring yourself into the deepest, most darkest self-awareness, because it's a more personal growth than it is business growth when you're an entrepreneur. It's more inner work than it is systems and sales. But you don't know that until you get in it. I love that you say that.
That's right. I love that you say that, because who was it? I read, there was an interview, NVIDIA, they have the chips, and they asked him, would you do, if you were 30 years old, right, and he's like 60 now, would you go on this journey? He's like, absolutely not. He's like, if I knew what I knew today, the amount of, and I'm not telling people not to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But you have to be so real with what it takes. 1 year is one thing, 2 years. But will you be here in 10 years, in 20 years? Like your dance studio is 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, think about, just something like that. All the ups and downs and all the different journey.
Yeah. I think, just the discipline alone would be like my first measuring stick. Like, are you a disciplined person to do things you don't want to do? Because if you're not, in corporate, where everything is already laid out for you, there's already a system, you step into a corporate machine and somebody tells you how to do what you need to do. For the most part, even when you're in an innovative space, there's somebody else who needs to approve or disapprove of your idea. So you're never like truly free. And if you don't have discipline to do something as simple as like eat well and work out on a regular basis, when you get into entrepreneurship and in those beginning moments of year or two, which feel like moments, long moments, you're responsible for doing everything yourself. And if you don't have the discipline to be up at a certain time, designate when you're going to work, what you're going to work on, what really is important, what isn't important, how long you're going to stick to an idea before you decide that it has failed, even if your audience has not decided that it has failed. And if you decide that is a wrong decision, it has to be your audience that decides. Like, if you don't have that kind of discipline as the first measuring stick, entrepreneurship is not for you. The other thing is, if you don't have tough skin, entrepreneurship is also not for you, because everyone's going to tell you all the ways in which you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Maybe a lot of those ways are paths that it's good that somebody brought it to your awareness, because you might have failed in that path, but you have to be prepared. And you also have to be so strong with yourself and so able to lead with your ego and say, no, this is it. This is what I need to do. But then also be able to quiet down your ego and allow yourself to be humbled by those that are here to teach you, by the business when it wants to teach you a lesson and humble you, and by your own growth when you realize that there were times you used your ego to lead when it should not have been leading.
It's a very, very delicate art.
Yeah.
It's a very delicate art, and you don't know, you'll get smashed so hard sometimes when you think it's not your ego, and it could be your ego or it isn't. And who to listen to and who not to listen. And how do you know
sometimes you're just like, oh, is this my intuition or am I just being an ass right now?
Right. And it's funny, I find a lot of successful entrepreneurs, actually the C students, who couldn't have discipline, and the entrepreneurship made them disciplined.
Yes.
I've seen that too.
But I think in those spaces, like I said, it's the first ruler that I would use, not the only one.
Yeah.
I think in those spaces, there are people who just are not meant to fit into the boxes that we're asked to squeeze ourselves into from childhood.
Yeah.
There are people whose brains don't think in the way that the school system is expecting us to think, right? And these minds are just too big for these boxes. And so I think there's also a responsibility there as parents when we see kids that people want to diagnose as ADHD or like all these other things of like bad kids. maybe give your kid an opportunity to like study your kid and see like, how is he being bad? Is he being bad because he's very physically active? Maybe that kid just needs more physical activity.
Right.
Is he being bad because he talks a lot? Maybe he's just really freaking bored and you just need to challenge their mind, you know? And so there is that. Those C students usually are just too brilliant for the box that they're meant to be put in, that they're trying to be put into.
But I also love that you've taken all this and you've created the Seizing Happy Foundation to give back.
Yes.
Super important, by the way.
Thank you.
What's the main mission of your foundation?
The Seizing Happy Foundation's mission is to help Black, Indigenous, and women of color achieve financial success through entrepreneurship. There is not enough support for women who were not brought up with the example of entrepreneurship. This is a big animal to try to tame. Entrepreneurship is wild. And, you know, if you don't grow up understanding money and finances because you didn't grow up in a wealthy home, if you don't grow up understanding the freedom of entrepreneurship, you know, it's hard to get on that path. It's hard to have that courage. It's hard to even know where to start. But a lot of these women have brilliant ideas and such a drive and determination. And all they need is just a little bit of support and guidance. But again, if you don't come from wealth, if you don't come from that kind of knowledge, if you don't come from that awareness, it's hard to be able to pay for a coach. It's hard to be able to know, even if you have a little bit of money, where to invest it into your business. Like, what do you start with? Do you start with marketing or do you start with your logo? Do you start with your messaging or do you start with your website? Like, you know, and a lot of people will tell you where to start, but like, where does your business best start? You know, and so I want to be able to bring these women in who can't afford to have that kind of guidance and be able to offer it to them for free, right? And so the goal with that is just to be able to bring the funding of the women who are killing it out there and saying, it's our turn to give back now, right? So, you know, in donating to the Seizing Happy Foundation, first of all, it's a great feeling to be able to give back to other women entrepreneurs when you know how hard it is to be a woman entrepreneur. But also, you know, it's a tax deduction. So anybody who's listening and wants to donate, it's tax deductible to donate to a nonprofit. So please do. And it feels so good to be able to watch these women. It's almost like they come in with this tension and this like, I have to take advantage of this opportunity because then I have to learn, because I have to do it, because I have to succeed. And then they walk out and they're like, that was so easy. It feels so good to do it. And they just have this like renewed sense of determination to go do the thing, whatever their thing is. And it's such a fulfilling feeling because it does get overwhelming when you feel stuck and you don't know what the next best step is. Not right, but next best step is. And to not have anyone, their circle doesn't have other entrepreneurs. Their parents don't know. Everyone's like, oh my God, you're going to leave your job to pursue this stupid business? You're crazy.
It's the same statement every time.
Every time.
Every time. Because everyone starts from a garage.
Yeah.
Right? It's like from nothing. So, but I want to ask you, what is something that you're deeply grateful for?
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is having moved to this country. I would not be able to do any of this in my country. There's like no freedom of anything where I was born. So that's my greatest gratitude. Like everything, my grandfather brought us from Cuba, and he spent tons of money to bring everybody over here, like legally with our papers, and like he takes when you bring somebody over like that, they take financial responsibility. Whoever claimed you takes financial responsibility for you forever, or like 10 years or something like that. Like you have to get it together and succeed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So I always say to my mom, like, you gave me life, but he gave me my life. Like I would not have had these opportunities without him. So I'm super grateful for him getting me the hell out of Cuba. But after that, I think just I'm really grateful for what some people think is my biggest flaw, which is like I really don't give a single F.
Right.
Like,
By the way, that is a great trait to have.
Yeah.
That's a great trait, to be unapologetic.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like I feel like, you know, I have a sense of urgency to live my best life because I know that this is a second opportunity for me already. Yeah. Right? Like just being in this country is a second opportunity. But also like I'm running out of time, and I believe that there's going to be other reincarnations for me, but I'm not 100% sure. You know, so like just in case, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. Yeah. And as long as I'm not hurting anybody else, like your opinion of what I'm doing is your own. Bye. You know, like I'm just going to do what I need to do while I'm here.
Because like you said, there's many communities. If people don't agree with you, you can find a community.
Find a different community. Do another people detox. I people detox my life literally every year, heavy detox. And then like every quarter, I'm like, what new friend does not belong here anymore? Wow. Bye.
Love that.
You know? Yeah.
And what's something about you that people don't know?
I love country music.
Oh.
And I'm a really great singer too. So karaoke is my sauce. It's my favorite thing to do, drunk or sober, doesn't matter. What else?
My
do
other
people
close
not know
friend,
about
who was
me?
also from Cuba, surprisingly also loves country music.
You know why, right? There's a lot. So the Cuban culture is so family oriented, and we're such romantics. Like love is just such a big deal. And a lot of us have deep roots in the country. And that is literally what country music is all about. Like someone is either like completely in love or completely heartbroken, right? And like family is a big part. Like I've never heard any other genre that talks about being a parent. And there are so many country music songs about like, it won't be like this for long is one that I had heard before. And I was like, oh, what a nice song. Then I heard it as a mom and I was like, oh, my son has teeth. Like I can't sleep, but it won't be like this for long. Like, I don't know any hip hop songs that talk about parenting and, like gum on the couch or any of these things. And I love that. And I think, because I've thought about this before, I think that's why, because the culture is very similar.
Interesting. I like that. I like that point. And really, it's been great. I think there's been great takeaways for startup entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs. So greatly appreciate it. How can people learn more about you and follow you on social? Yeah,
you can find the company at Seizing Happy all across social media or seizinghappy.com. And you can find me as GiGi Diaz Live or gigidiaz.com.
Thank you so much, Gigi.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Thanks. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Gigi. Next week, I'll be taking your questions about business and real estate. We've done this before and really enjoyed it. So we thought it was time for another episode where we get to hear from you. So if you have any questions about business, entrepreneurship, and real estate, send them to us on Instagram at Common Denominator Podcast. Please subscribe to the YouTube page so you never miss an episode. And if you're currently listening to the show, we'd be grateful for a 5-star rating and review. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again next week.